Joining us now is Oakland Schools, who joins us each and every month, twice a month, to talk about a different topic of support that they're providing to our local school districts and individual schools and families right here in the Oakland County area. Joining us today on our Oakland Schools Education Insider is Suzanne Toohey, Supervisor of Instruction and Pedagogy at Oakland Schools, and Christina Kozlowski, English Learner Consultant, on today's program. Thank you both for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Good morning. We're happy to be here.
Glad to have both of you on today to talk about inviting new people into our school districts, those who may even be new to the United States altogether. For those that aren't familiar, explain to our audience, Suzanne, we'll begin with you, what a newcomer is, but also more importantly, when we're talking about people coming into school districts, especially internationally, what a newcomer is not.
Right. Well, newcomer is sort of an umbrella term that includes various categories of immigrant students who are born outside of the United States. So, for example, all immigrants are not necessarily English learners, as some are fluent in English, while others speak little or no English. Students identified as English learners require assistance in schools with English language acquisition. Interestingly, more than 40% of students identified as English learners are born in the United States. And in Michigan, we typically consider students newcomers when they're within their first year of schooling in the U.S.
And so these experiences are so varied because people come to the U.S., as you said, with maybe some experience in learning in an English-speaking environment from their past school experiences, or perhaps even coming to these school districts not knowing any single word of English as they enter the school district. And so, Tina, what are some of the common challenges, we mentioned a couple of them just now, or barriers that newcomers experience when they enter our schools for the first time?
Well, there can be a wide variety of challenges and barriers they might experience when they first arrive in the United States, basically depending on the nature of their arrival. So newcomers can be navigating a new country, culture, language, and definitely a new community. And depending on the circumstances, newcomers might have had to flee an unsafe circumstance. So they might be here as a refugee or asylee, and they may have had to leave behind family members or have lost family members due to their home situations. And then, as Suzanne said, other newcomers might have arrived under a more positive circumstance and have a support system already in place here. And so as consultants, when we're supporting schools and organizations, we often hear that language access and a sense of belonging into the new culture are the two most prominent challenges. Other challenges that it's important to know and that impact others in the community are newcomers trying to find housing, transportation, their own transportation, but also navigating our public transportation and school system transportation, employment, basic needs, locating religious institutions or common community groups, health services, both physical and mental, and then figuring out ways to connect with others around them. We also are supporting our students in finding their next long-term extensions or stay. That could be for different situations depending on the family's needs and if they're on the path to stay here for citizenship. And we really wanted to point out it's important to know our most recent arrivals are from Afghanistan and Ukraine based on the unique situations that are over there. And so these families are coming with different experiences and some trauma they may have faced on their experience in their home countries and then as they navigate our schools here.
So it seems from those two definitions of what a newcomer is and how Oakland Schools and other school districts really focus on supporting these students as they're entering classroom with a variety of different barriers, that it's not just necessarily acclimating to an American classroom or acclimating to an English-speaking classroom, but also helping to navigate those sometimes drastic cultural changes. So, Suzanne, as the supervisor of instruction, what sort of guidance does Oakland Schools give to our individual school districts as they're navigating these sometimes often complicated situations that students may be coming over in, especially as was mentioned there by Christina, that students may be coming over as refugees from places like Afghanistan or Ukraine in recent years?
So as Tina is the newcomer consultant, I'm going to turn it over to her to talk through some of the specific supports that she provides to our schools and districts.
Thank you. Okay. So coming from another county, the supports in Oakland County are so robust and they expand cross-county. So we welcome supporting any one of our neighboring counties as well. And in addition to the robust English learner supports, being a newcomer consultant this year, we were really able to offer specific supports for newcomer families and students. So as Suzanne said, I'm a newcomer consultant on board with the staff, and we're one of 6 counties in the state that received this specialized position based on the arrivals that we recently received in Michigan from Afghanistan and Ukraine. We offer specific newcomer supports and guidance through our English Learner Network, which we'll continue to do next year and do some deeper dive into classroom supports and community supports. And because we're part of this collaboration, we are very connected to local agencies, so Global Michigan and nonprofits who are helping resettle some of our newcomer families. And then we were able to create some new guidance documents, and particularly for Afghan and Ukrainian arrivals. And those documents have various topics that are giving some historical background to families and to teachers. They provide educational links, but also community resources and links for parents to support them in their work.
And in terms of the interventions or the supports that are provided by Oakland Schools, how do those differ, or how do those work in conjunction with those that are provided by these local school districts themselves?
I can start with that if you like. So we have a strong network where we have contacts across the county and in our different districts where we reach out, support them on a consultant basis, and then we'll also partner with some long-term projects with them. So whatever that district is looking for, we will be there to support them. And we love being out in the schools and being in the classrooms and welcoming the families alongside with our districts. Suzanne, anything to add on that?
No, I would agree. I think we have a real partnership with our districts when it comes to meeting their needs and helping them ensure that their newcomer students and families have all that they need to be successful both in school and as they transition into their new communities.
And Suzanne, continuing on with you, Suzanne Toohey is the supervisor of instruction at Oakland Schools, joining us as part of our Oakland Schools Education Insider today, focusing on newcomers, or those that are immigrating into our school districts from other countries, sometimes with some English-speaking background, English-based education background, and those that may be coming in raw to the school districts for the very first time with no experience, and some of the different interventions that are provided at the county level. In terms of federal or state legislation or aid, what sort of supports are provided from our higher government positions or higher government agencies to intermediate school districts like Oakland Schools or individual school districts to help them navigate these often complicated relationships and development of bringing kids into our school districts locally?
Yeah, so our federal government has 4 foundational cases that protect the rights of English learner students and their families, starting with the Title VI Act of Civil Rights in 1964, which requires school districts to take affirmative steps to ensure students with limited English proficiency can meaningfully participate in their educational programs and services. There are 3 additional foundational cases that protect the rights of these students as well. So the first is Lau versus Nichols, which requires the districts to ensure that English learners can meaningfully participate in all educational programs and services, both core and supplemental. In 1982, the Supreme Court ruled that states cannot constitutionally deny students a free public education based on their immigration status, and that is just as important now as it was in 1982. And then finally, they also, in 1981, the Fifth Circuit Court established a 3-part test to evaluate the adequacy of a district's program for English learners. And so this is where we do a lot of technical assistance with our districts in collaboration from the Michigan Department of Education, and help to make sure that our districts understand these obligations, that they know what that means as it's translated into real life with our students and families every day. And so some of the work that we do in collaboration with the Michigan Department of Education supports the districts in getting programs that meet these requirements under federal law and also meet the unique needs of their student populations local to their districts.
And Tina, also, so much of what goes into acclimating these newcomers to our local school districts is acclimating them to the community. So in terms of what local citizens can do, what are often some important steps that can be taken by the communities themselves, whether it's within that individual school environment, the school district, the town or city or wherever that these students are coming into, to help bridge those gaps that may be there, sometimes quite wide, between these newcomers and their families and these local communities?
Now, we really appreciate this question because we all are here to support and welcome our new families. So first, just being open-minded. We believe diversity enriches all of us. So being neighborly, welcoming your new families, body language and nonverbal cues are so important. And quite honestly, we have such advanced technology. There's so many apps out there. So communication is more accessible than it ever was before. And that's both written and oral. So, being open to exploring that. Our newcomer families are really looking for some patience and some genuine concern in welcoming them and helping them belong to the community they have moved into. At Oakland Schools, just our school districts alone, we have nearly 120 different languages. And that's pretty amazing because that's only the communities that have school-age children. So I would imagine in our county, we have far more languages than even that. And so that richness of our community is so important. So if you are connected to a school or a district, every district has a coordinator, director, teacher. A lot of them have family liaisons that directly work with these families. So there's opportunities for you to connect, welcome them on a school basis, and really get to know what community organizations the school is already partnering with.
Yeah, our nation is a nation of many different cultures. It's historically been a nation that has been inviting to some extent to so many different people from different walks of life. And they've played an important role in building this country and building our local communities as well. And so, Suzanne, newcomers have been a big part of that as they've developed their education right here in the U.S. after immigrating from other parts of the world. Can you talk about some of the contributions that have played important roles in our society over the years that have been contributed to society by students who have been newcomers themselves?
Yes, so certainly in our schools, the very presence of newcomer students provides a rich opportunity for all students to expand their cultural knowledge and their capacity to participate fully in a multicultural democracy and engage with an increasingly interconnected world. When students attempt to communicate with, listen to, and learn from peers who have experiences and perspectives different from their own, they expand their knowledge base and at the same time gain the necessary intercommunication skills that are essential to success in their higher education. Newcomers and immigrants have contributed richly in the areas of scientific and economic advancements, as well as adding to the vibrancy of our country's literature and the arts. So interestingly, in 2009, 8 of the 9 Nobel Prize winners in science were Americans, and 5 of those 8 were born outside of the US. Foreign-born Americans won more Nobel Prizes that year than those who won from all other nations combined. The Partnership for a New American Economy said that in 2011, immigrants started 28% of all U.S. businesses, despite accounting for just 12.9% of our population. And between 2006 and 2012, 44% of new tech startups in Silicon Valley were founded by immigrants. Nationally, 40% of Fortune 500 companies were founded by either first or second generation immigrants. And as we know, many authors and artists contribute to the rich vibrancy of our artistic community. Chinua Achebe, renowned Nigerian author of Things Fall Apart and numerous other writings, immigrated to the United States as a university professor and helped to solidify the presence of the African voice in the field of literature. So clearly, newcomers have played historically and will continue to play into the future an important role in our society.
Before we wrap up, any last thoughts or any more information on resources that may be available to newcomer families or even to already present families in our communities to help our newcomers as they're coming in? Tina, let's begin with you.
Sure. So we are providing a lot of resources at Oakland Schools. So as mentioned, we have our Afghan document and Ukrainian document. We have various guidance documents. Nationally, the United States Department of Education actually has a newcomer toolkit that they are actively keeping up to date. And then we often visit the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service website. That contains all things immigrant and can help you know which families are coming in, which to expect, and how you might be able to better serve them in your community. And being tied to this diverse school environment that we are so proud to serve, and in conjunction with a lot of the recommendations coming from the Department of Ed, we do believe, in accordance to the White House Task Force on New Americans, we really wanted to bring attention to that this idea of newcomers, them bringing a wealth of knowledge and experience and that global perspective that Suzanne mentioned to our schools in the U.S. What makes us unique. And we really value their cultural backgrounds, linguistic resources, and the prior knowledge they bring to our classrooms. And we just want to leave with that idea of when schools recognize their assets and provide purposeful academic and social emotional supports, that our newcomers are going to achieve at very high levels. And we are thrilled to be able to serve the schools in the county in that way.
And Suzanne, anything else that we should know today or our community should know about what's available through Oakland Schools to our newcomers?
Yeah, so through Oakland Schools, we support the teachers, the educators in the local districts and the programs that serve them. And we're very excited to announce here first that we have a multicultural family night planned for next year, where we want to highlight and showcase all of the wonderful multicultural, multilingual students and families in the county, and open to the community to come in and get to know our students and families and share some highlights of their school experiences. So more to come on that, but that's anticipated to be a springtime event and a first-time event for Oakland Schools that we're thrilled to host.
Yeah, really important to help these families acclimate to our local area. They do play a big role in our communities, as well as in the development of our own kids already in our communities as they're expanding their global horizons and learning about different cultures and people from all different walks of life. Christina, Suzanne, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks. We appreciate the opportunity.